Okiniksukuix, Nistuni Tanaku Misam Sepiaki, Nistu Amskapi Bikani, Gi Iokamix, Gi Kanatsumitax. Hello, everyone. Hello, my relations. My Pikani name is Longtime Charging Woman, and my other name is Kim Paul. I am blessed and honored to be before you as the founder of Pikani Lodge Health Institute. And thank you guys all for coming. It's pretty sweet to see you here. We have some more people that are coming in from out in the field, and just hoping that everyone can make it in time. I'm gonna be honest Injun, and when we said we'd do this spot, I just always took it in my head that it was like 30 minutes. So if I just talk on and on and on, just kind of give me this one sign like that. And I'm just kidding. But anyway, they asked me to give you the history of Pikani Lodge and why it was created here at home. And to do that, I have to start with my personal history. So for maybe young people, it's not as relevant, but I hope you can find some words in there that might assist you or empower you or grow you. But I guess to begin with, I dropped out in the 9th grade a long time ago. And I was gonna be a Browning person, but they started building this road up Chief Mountain. And I was living with my aunt who had recently had a stroke, and my cousin who had just had a baby, and we just were full of life, and we just couldn't be contained in a classroom. And I'm telling you this so that you know, obviously you're beyond the 9th grade dropout age, but just don't make the same mistake, because then life got harder and harder, and it could have been easier, right? So I just share that so that people hopefully will learn from words instead of experience on this one. But anyway, I worked construction for about 28 years, digging ditches, running a jackhammer, building roads, and had 4 babies that I supported by myself. And I just saw a lot of life. Like, I can stand here before you now and tell you that most of my bestest friends in the world are no longer here because of alcohol, drugs, alcohol or drug-related car accidents, chronic disease, death. And so we're here trying to break that trail. We, as in anybody who has the same heart in our communities, in our confederacy, in our nation, in our globe, trying to help people maybe not go down some of the roads that we might have gone down, and to pick just a better life for ourselves. Sometimes we have to make that life for ourselves. We can't depend on others to do it. And that was the trail that I kind of took, running that jackhammer and digging those ditches and raking that asphalt and running along a paver. And everybody kept getting mad at me, telling me to start losing weight, and you need to lose weight, you need to get in better shape. And here I called them from up on the road and said, I need to go to the hospital. Could you guys send somebody up here to take my place? What's wrong? Did you get hurt? No, I got to go have this baby. So I really got good presents for that baby. His name is Coy Harwood. But if you can learn from any words in that line of discussion, it would be to finish your education, go about creating the life that you want to create for yourself. Don't be hampered by little things around you, and just really keep your focus and your goal. If you have to smudge 10 times a day to clear off the confusion of the world around you, smudge 10 times a day. Just do whatever it takes to stay focused on your goal. So back to the beginning of Pikani Lodge. So that was the whole 9th grade dropout story. I started raising my 4 kids by working construction and falling through the door covered in asphalt, saying, you will go to college. You will go to college, you will go to college, you will go to college. And they're just little and, okay, mama, you know, like, sure, mom. And then as they started graduating, my 2 oldest ones graduated and started working construction. So yeah, so it was kind of heartbreaking, because construction here, you know, in Montana is just like 3 or 4 months out of the year, and to try to be able to support themselves and their family. And so by Creator's grace, I came here to Blackfoot Community College with my little 9th grade education from 28 years before, older than almost everybody in the school. And I started school here, and was really blessed to just feel like it was a family. So I want to encourage you guys, especially you young ones, just, boy, this is the best stepping stone in the world. You can come here, you can get straight A's, you can get these great, wonderful scholarships that can get you down to the other universities if that's your goal, if you want to get a bachelor's or a master's or a doctorate, or, you know, depending on what your particular goals are, you might want to be a poet, you know, who knows. But if it's education based, start here. This is the place to be. This is just such a beautiful stepping stone of understanding plus learning your identity. So I had a grandpa who was on the street, and I never understood that. We're a product, our family is a product of relocation. When the Relocation Act happened, we have shared grandparents in this room that some of us all have, but my grandma was the oldest one of Agnes and Francis Auger's family. And so she had 5 kids who were in middle school and high school when the Relocation Act came about. And they'd been bouncing from Birch Creek to Two Medicine, which is our homelands, over to Four Horn Lake. And when the Relocation Act happened, right away to Seattle. And they had 1 week work when they got there. And so it was a little overwhelming for my grandfather. My grandmother just dug in and started working at a nursing home and started, you know, kept raising her kids. And within, I don't know, weeks, months, my mother, you know, was having my brother, and then a couple years later having me. So we were born over there, and it was a very systematic way to reduce the bloodline, right? The same as the boarding schools, the same as Haskell, the same as the bloodlines were so reduced systematically, just like they systematically killed off the buffalo, took away our food lines, etc. But anyway, back to Piikani Lodge. So in going to school here, I got to learn about the Dawes Act and the Burke Act and the Dead Indian Act and all the ways that this government, as far away as the moon to our grandparents, created all of these policies and laws that took away our land, took away our culture, took away our bundles, our pipes, our everything. And then I understood why my grandpa was kind of on the street in Washington, because it was just all too overwhelming to them. They had been in lodges. You know, we come from Two Medicine area. My grandpa Takes Calf and Sensible Child, to my grandma Little Otter and Crow Chief, to my grandma Sadie Crow Chief and grandpa Eli, to it wasn't that long ago that they were in lodges. And so for him to go all the way over there with his family and to be defeated in such a way, it was very hard. So thinking about all these combinations of all this stuff I was learning, it was in Terry Tatsi's land issues class right here that I understood my grandpa for the first time in my life. And there was no more shame, and there was no more judgment, and there was no more even be embarrassed of how I looked, you know, not having any pigmentally challenged. It was more like, what can I do to be a part of making our world here better? So the long and short of it, because we have an hour and a half, we'll make it a little longer. The long of it is that I was blessed to be the American Indian Student of the Year across the nation, which was a real surprise to me. And they did this wonderful honor dance over in North Dakota, and it was really beautiful. But what it taught me was that I wasn't as dumb as I thought. I wasn't as stupid as I wasn't, you know, because I used to walk with my eyes down to the floor. And in doing that, then I had this very special woman, Sin Davis, who came up to me and she said, you know, you're always walking with your eyes like this. You're always walking, looking down. And she just kind of took my chin and she lifted my head up and she said, you need to be proud of who you are. You need to be proud that you're Mskapi Bikani. You need to be proud that you're a woman. And you need to be proud that Creator gave you a brain. You need to take that heart and attach it to that brain, and you need to use it. And I'm like, okay. She came to my house, like to my house. She came to my house, and we're standing in the hall, and she's telling me this, and lifting my chin up, and I'm crying because I was this, you know, I had it in my head that single mother, 4 children, you know, da-da-da-da. Anyway, we can all tell bad stories to ourselves all day long, or we can empower ourselves, you know, that we come from a very strong people. We were the last people to be rounded up and put on a reservation. You know, like I won't even use that word anymore. It's Piikani Nation. We are the Mskapi Bikani Nation. I just don't even like that oppressive word. But anyway, when she did that to me, she changed my life. she really, just that little tiny bit of love from one person, or that belief in you from one person. And she said, I want you to apply for this IHS scholarship. Your aunties, your uncles, they always tell you, you need to be a doctor. You need to be a doctor. And so I applied for this Indian Health Service scholarship, and it paid my way through. Before, I didn't have any gas money to drive across the street. All of a sudden, I had the IHS scholarship and could go down to the university system and work from there. So from the university system, I was pre-med and was accepted into Yale in Loma Linda at 50. And I broke my back. I broke 3 vertebrae, but my granddaughter was also being born at the same time. So when I broke my back, I'm like, what the heck, Creator? I'm trying to do this thing. And then my daughter told me that she was going to have a baby, and it was my first grandchild. I was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay home. And so I ended up doing a master's in environmental chemistry and biomedical science, which turned into doctoral studies in biochemistry, biomedical science, and community and public health. And through that journey, it's not so much that I had this wonderful GPA. It's not so much that Creator blessed me to be able to figure out how to put butcher paper on all my walls and write all these structures and work really hard, because I had this other life that made me driven to have a better life, because I had many, many, many decades of this life. And so I worked really hard to get to this life. And as I was doing that, as Native people in the university system, were really called upon to do all these things. Even when you look like this, you're called upon to be this person, called upon to be that person. Or you see something like the Bridges to the Baccalaureate program being run insufficiently and being taken advantage of our Native students, and these people are making tons of money, and these kids are barely getting enough to survive. And so then you step in and you speak up, especially when you're older. But I encourage you all as younger to really use your voice. So anyway, I was the director of the Bridges to the Baccalaureate program at UM, because I saw that it was being run incorrectly for our students, and that a lot of the money was going to this director person and nothing to the students as well. So in that, I walked into the graduate school one day, and there was this woman with her back to me. I was called to this meeting, advisory council, da-da-da. And the dean of the graduate school was the chair of my committee, and she was standing with her back to me, and she's like, I really encourage you all to put in for these Indian grants. If you're not getting any of this Indian money, this low-hanging fruit, you're missing the boat. All Napiaki Napikwan, right? And I'm just like, what the heck? To even be so bold as to speak these words, right? So the dean of the graduate school looked at me, he was just so embarrassed and felt so bad. And he was a true friend and a true colleague. And through all of that, of course, I had my words to her, but it really taught me something. And I think that's another thing for young ones. When you hear things that are painful, or you hear things that that maybe make you want to bristle up and get a fat lip or give a fat, I'm just kidding. It's a learning moment. You can walk on past that, but learn from it. Learn that it doesn't have to be that way, that we don't have to afford that, allow that into our lives. And so along that time too, I had written my thesis and was defending it. And it was on so when I was a young girl, my cousins and I, your mama, and your mama, Graham would send us up to get bear grass. And she would say, but don't go up on Divide. You don't get to pick, because she was at Carlisle. So her simple pleasure once a year was for us to get her bear grass, and she would put it in these mason jars, and she would put blue food coloring and orange food coloring, and do you remember that? And red food coloring, and she would make her bear grass turn different colors. And so it was really a big thing for her, because it only blooms a couple weeks out of the year. And so she would always say, but don't you go on Divide. There's something really bad buried up there. And we'd be like, oh, Graham, okay. But we wouldn't go up there. And anyway, later on, then I would hear other stories about a bottomless pit here and out towards Hart Butte. And then I got to thinking, well, everybody from St. Mary's, like to Kennedy Creek, they all had cancer. Everyone had cancer except for this new family, the Panonis, that moved in like 10 years before that. And I thought, okay, Graham, you know, I'm putting these pieces together, right? Because we're two medicine people, but she knew about this. Bad things were dumped up there. And so I wanted to investigate that because environmental chemistry was my master's. And so I did that and had 28 sample sites with 68 samplings, but I didn't have enough money to really do a good job of it. But I never could find any isotopes that were buried up there. And so anyway, through that, and through that learning and through that, all of that hard science and seeing how people were writing all of these grants, $20 million grants, and would have like 4 internships that maybe cost $40,000 a year here, but they're writing it and taking our data, taking our information, because anything in the science world, if it's new or novel, then it's you know, buildable, right? You can build a PhD on this. You can build your lab on this. You can create all this research, and you can get all this money because you have a university backing you or a PhD backing you or anything like that. I felt that it was, it was inequitable, and it was pretty crazy to me that people could still be doing that. So anyway, as I'm defending my thesis, I'm standing up there and I'm having to, you know, talk about these isotopes and uranium to plutonium enrichment and all of this stuff, and how Hanford, back in 1961, proposed to our tribal council from Eastern Washington. They proposed to the Blackfoot Tribal Council on June 16th of 1991 to bury not less than 50 million gallons of irradiated wastewater and components, so metal, etc., in our land, all the way from Eastern Washington. In 1961, the roads were horrible. The vehicles were, you know, very challenging. Like, I remember having to get under my truck and move my linkage so I could even drive. But just to think of the transportation of radioactive materials to our land from that distance, that they wanted it so far away from them. You know, that tells us, you know, even in 1961, not in my backyard, but it's okay in yours. Why? Because we're the first people of this nation. Why? Because we have more pigment than you. Why? Because we're disposable people. Like, you could just do that to our you know, our homelands, our biosystems, our Natuitapik, Spoomitapik, Sakamitapik, Suitapik. You could bring that poison to us, and it's okay. Our council a year later, with old Fish Wolfrobe slamming his staff on the floor, I will not agree to this. This cannot be buried here. You know, he had a voice and he used it. And so anyway, I'm defending this thesis in the Western way, the scientific way, and I'm done, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's over, thank you, because it took a long time to take care of all these samples and all of this, and I never found anything. My friend died in my arms, my dad died in my arms, all of cancer. The EPA would not designate this area as a cancer cluster because the primary cancers were all different. So they refused to, even though there was 3 or 4 cancers in every family, they would not. And so I'm doing all these interviews and testing their water, and you know, you carry a lot on your shoulders when it's something like that. And people kept dying, and so I just was like so done. And this woman stood up in the back, and she's like, how do you expect us to believe that this could happen? It was in 2016, that all of this could happen in 2016 and that nobody's cleaned this up, you know? And so that sparked such a internal dialogue to really tell the whole story, because I just told the Western story, just the science of it. So that's what turned into my doctoral work, was all the history and the background of the Dawes Act, of relocation, of, you know, we're so blessed to be in our homelands. We have to protect our homelands. Not every tribe, most tribes were relocated, had to do the Trail of Tears. There was just so much movement of Native people within America, and we're so blessed to still be living within our homelands, from the North Saskatchewan River to the Yellowstone River. This is our homelands all the way. I don't care how many people say that's Crow territory. I'm just kidding. My stew, I'm just kidding, Abzaliga. Anyway, whatever you do, always keep your umbilical cord back to home. You know, you're so powerful as young spirits, young energy. Just always keep your ties back to home. Even if home is painful, even if it's heartbreaking, keep your ties back to home, because you will make a change here. You are making a change now just by participating in this summer internship and being a part of Pekani Lodge. So anyway, that's how I wrote my doctoral dissertation. I already had like 180 pages at my master's level. I added all the history, the true histories into it. And then I came home. The tribe, they were asking me to help write the ARMP, the Agricultural Resource Management Plan, for 10 years. And the director of that, Bird, my cousin, come on, come write for us. We really need you. The climate adaptation plan. And this isn't about me. This is about all these things that Creator put together. All these little pieces of knowledge, of experience, of education, of, you know, do I have the electricity turned off this month so I could buy my kids tennis shoes? We have a family meeting. We turned the electricity off so we could buy nice, new, cute tennis shoes for them to go to school in. But all these pieces of life, the loss of all your friends, most of your family, to a path that, you know, really was subjected onto us. We were the first generation of drugs. Our parents before us were alcohol, you know, the whiskey forts for our grandparents. And so we're moving into this next generation where you can all learn from our generations of the things that we did to fill the gaps that really was just our identity. So now, why Pekani Lodge was created was to make opportunity to reclaim our identity, make opportunity to create jobs, make opportunity to, there's nothing that we can do alone. All of these little pieces and these little degrees, they don't mean anything other than just tools so that we can create more jobs, so that we could share more love, so that we could say that you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're our future, you're empowered. You have whatever those little sparks are inside of you that you're interested in, whether it's the riff on a guitar or how to create a Salisbury orchard. Those things they're beautiful and they're from Creator, and whatever we can do to help you in those things, that's what we want to do. So in seeing all of that confusion in the university system and how the grabbing of money in the name of Native people, along with trying to work for the tribe, it became a little hard to do that. I wrote the first Culture and Hope Native Connections grant for suicide prevention for the tribe to try to create jobs that afforded our kids the ability to reclaim connection to the land. Life on the land is medicine, right? Like the medicines of the land, the teas, the way that we sustained ourselves. And it became challenging because it took like a year to even get our computers. And I love the tribe, and I love having these jobs here, and I love our leadership. They're just the best. But there were challenges along with this knowledge of what the university people were doing that really pushed me into creating Pekani Lodge as a nonprofit for our community. And the force behind Pekani Lodge really is Creator. He put all these pieces together. He blesses us to be able to have brains to write these different, I know people call them grants, but they're contracts. We agree to 5 years of work for X amount of money. We have to do everything that we write in there within these lines. There's no profit, hence the nonprofit. We're working for a wage like everyone else. So it's not this big, beautiful business, but it is for our people, by our people. And our work is based on, during the ARMP, we created this huge survey. It was about 20 pages, and it takes about half an hour, 45 minutes to do. But 780 community members took that time to complete this survey. Oh, Gomi, our voice, saying what their needs were, what they wanted people to work on in our community. So our work is based a lot on the voice of the people, what the people want. We write like crazy, try to get these jobs, write, try to create jobs, and then we just go from there. So that's Pekani Lodge in a nutshell. We have a whole lot of programs going on. We're blessed to have some people here with us that are our entire team, our lifeblood, our beautiful humans that really work hard at getting the work done. And I hope that the history of Piconey Lodge hasn't scared you, but that you're instead instilled with understanding that you can do anything. If an old ninth grade old lady dropout old asphalt raker can do something like this, and we are making a difference in our community. I'm just going to tell one story, and I'll be quiet, but you know we still have an hour. So, but our first camp under Culture and Hope, under that suicide reduction prevention work that we wrote this under the tribe. Anyway, we put up this camp, and we called it a traditional camp, and we're all like smudging off, we don't know what we're doing, oh my gosh, what the heck are we doing? You know, like all these internal voices in your head. Doesn't matter how many ceremonies you go to or how many transfers you have, you still feel like, what are we doing? So anyway, we put these lodges up. We had our elders in the bundle. The bundle had just been transferred, the Beaver bundle, to me about a year before that. We did all of these things that we hoped were right, but when it came down to it, we didn't know if we were going to make a difference in anybody's life. And then this young woman came with her 15-year-old daughter, and she showed me her texts. Her friends had been so brave to show their mama, or this girl's mama, that she was making a plan. She was giving everything away. She had already given it all away. She was going to take her life. And her mom brought her to us, and she just sobbed in my arms. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, let's give her a job. I don't know what to do. Let's give her a job. So we hooked her up with my grandkids. They were identifying plants. They were picking berries. They got to, see which medicines we use to break up congestion in our throat, or what's good kidney medicine, or that horrible sticky yellow flower that my grandma used to make me drink, but it's really good for you, right? And not really knowing it, she was learning her identity. She didn't have her name. She didn't have her Indian name. And on the last day, she got pushed off into a new life with that Indian name, and she just sobbed in my arms, and she called me Auntie, Auntie, I promise I'll never do this again. I'll never think about this again. I know who I am as Piconey. I know in my heart, because she kind of had eyes like mine, and maybe she was just a little shy about being who she was. And her mom saw me a month later at Teeples, and she just fell into my arms, and she said the same thing, I have my daughter back. So even if you don't know if you're doing the right thing, or if you're a little shaky about believing in yourself, just do it. Because look, this one person's life was saved just because of that one traditional camp, because of that little bit of identity reclamation of being on the land, learning some medicines, getting to know about smudges, about the bundles, about the pipes, getting her name, and starting off in a whole new life. So I share this in closing as I introduce our crew up here, just that I hope as a impetus or a starter for whenever you're out and about and you question yourself for doing something, just ask Creator to help you and give you the words, and just do it anyway, because it might save a life. So Jaylyn Henderson, she's the head of our interns this year, and we just would like each one of Piconey Lodge's people to jump up and talk a little bit about what they do for us and do with us. We're all together in this.
Okay, so hello, my name is Jaylyn, long time sleeping. From Browning. I've been here most of my life. I moved away right after high school. I joined the military. Didn't really have a college plan, just did. I did 7 years as a food service operator, or culinary arts specialist now. Right after high school, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was gonna go to college. Instead, I just threw my name in the hat and chose the military instead. I lived in Havre for 3 years. Came back home after my grandpa kind of got sick. My ranch is located in the middle of Medicine, on the other side, on the north side of the Medicine River.
We've been there for 4 generations. We're not a big producing cattle ranch, but we get by. During COVID, my mom sold out. We were up to 50 head. Unfortunately, she got hurt and was unable to do any more ranching, so we sold out. When I moved back home, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was still in the military. I looked for a job, was getting turned down, didn't know what I was going to do. Fortunately, I got hired with the casino as security, which was, all right, it's kind of in my background. All right, yeah, I got military under my belt. Let's do this. Was there for 2.5 years. Then I went to the state for a client service coordinator. Was doing interviews for food stamps and TANF, which I did not like. It was to help people, but then when I'd get out of the office, or at 5, I'd go to the stores and I'd see them selling their kids as food. You know, taking that money from their kids and selling it to somebody else, just so they could support their habits. I worked there for about 1.5 years. And then my good friend, Quentin Whitford, he's not here today, he's out sick, told me, apply for this internship coordinator. And I didn't want to. I was like, no, I'll just stick it out. He's like, do you want to sit 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, behind a computer screen and getting mad because you can't do what you want to do? And I was like, all right, I'll put in for it. About a week later, 2 weeks later, I get a call from our director, Andrew, and he's like, is this Jaylyn? I was like, yes. He's like, would you like to do an interview for the internship coordinator? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so he's like, it's gonna be on Zoom. I don't know what Zoom is. I could type sentences, I could do all this. I don't know what a meeting is on a computer. I didn't know what Zoom was. I didn't even know what Google Meets was. I was like, okay, all right. So they sent me this link. I know what email is, but they sent me this link, got on. I did an interview with Quentin, Andrew, and Anne. I was nervous. I was so scared. And I sat there in confidence and told them my background, where I was from, who my grandparents were, who is Sadie and Walter, longtime sleeping. On my mom's side, my dad's side is Marlene and Jess, heavy runner Juno. And I was like, okay, I feel good. But when I first moved home, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't even know why I moved home. I wanted to go back to Havre. I didn't want to be home. And when I sat down and talked to my grandpa, and he sat there and he talked to me, and he's like, well, we'll support you no matter what you do. And I sat there and I said, okay. And I thought to myself, I think it's time to come home. I think I need to come home. I feel whole when I come home. And so when I moved home, I was going through so many jobs. I couldn't find the right one. And so after my first interview with PLHI, I got my second one. Oh yes, I scored this job. Oh, they're gonna put me in. And they're like, okay, well, we'll get back to you. Week later goes by and I'm still sitting at my 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, behind a computer screen. I was like, all right, we'll do this. I'm just gonna wait it out. And then Andrew calls. I'm in the middle of doing this whole intake process with this client, and I had to miss that call. So I call him back at noon. And he's like, hi, Jaylyn. He's like, hello. He's like, I would like to offer you this internship coordinator position for PLHI. So when I started, and I started last month, I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I got out of the office. I was able to I could go sit in a parking lot, hook up to my hotspot. Hey, I know what that is too. Hook up to my hotspot, get on my computer and sit in my vehicle while I could, go and watch birds or deer, but I'm still in these meetings. And I started that, and I didn't really know what it was. I was like, okay. And Quentin was telling me, oh, we do regenerative grazing. We dig holes for soil. And I was like, is that it? And then after a while, I started learning and more about culture. I was like, I feel whole, because I know some words in Blackfeet. I know some traditions. I don't know all of it, but I feel whole being in here because it makes me so happy to learn. And sorry. Because my grandpa and grandma went to boarding school at Mission. My mom doesn't know language. She can't speak it. Her older brothers had to hide from the government in our hay barn so they didn't have to go to school. So they knew tradition. Sorry.
It's an important story. A lot of us share it, right? It's important, Julie.
My Uncle James was 5 years old when they took him to public school. Down from the ranch, they had to go to school. They finally got caught and had to go to school. My mom, she was forced to go to school. And when she'd hear my grandpa and my grandma speak, she'd walk in the room, they'd just wouldn't talk. So she can hear, she knows what they say, but she can't speak it. That's what I want to do, is learn and give it back. And when I was younger, I'd always, I'd hear my grandpa James, he took my mom in after my grandparents passed away. So he's my grandpa. When he took my mom in, we'd go to the ranch every day. We were in town, but we'd go to the ranch every day, and he'd teach me. He'd teach me words. He'd talk to me in Indian, and he said, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Go out there and make the best of yourself. We're going to be proud no matter what." And so I did. I joined the military. I got out in 2020 during COVID. Caught COVID at the end of it, and it really sucked, honestly. But I caught COVID at the end of it, and I was so afraid. My grandpa, he'd come to town, and he didn't want, mask and hand sanitizer. He didn't want that. He said, "I got measles when I was a kid. If I can live through that, I can live through COVID." And I was like, "It's not that way, Grandpa." But he'd come to town, and he'd go to the house, and I'd go up there, and I'd have to distance myself from him. And he'd still talk to me. He'd tell me about his day, what he did. And after a while, I was like, okay, well, so I moved to the ranch for a few years while I was working with Glacier Peaks. I moved there for about 2 years, and that was hard during the winter. I don't know how they did it, but I'd walk in about 3 miles, and then we finally got this, what are they called, snowmobiles. I didn't know how to run it. I wrecked it the first time I got it. Rode it up a hill and hit a jump. I don't even know how I hit a jump, but I wrecked it, and I got in trouble so bad. He said, "You need to learn how to drive this." And we're so modern tech out there. We have an old rotary phone. We don't have no cell service. And he literally watched me when I headed up that hill, and I was like, "Well, I'll try to pick and choose the safest way out of here." Of course, we're down in a dip, and I wrecked it. And he was really mad. He said, "That's my money." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's your money." But he was really mad. And when after I returned from town, I went back out, brought our groceries down in a calf sled, and we got set up and everything. And he's like, "Well, you should just move to town." He said, I was like, "I can't leave you out here. You're by yourself." He said, "No." He said, "I'll figure out how to get out here." We had this Bali horse, Sorrow Face. He hooked him up to a team. I didn't even know my grandpa had a set of things for teams. He pulled him in, put that calf sled on him, and he was standing up behind him. And I was like, "What's that guy doing over there?" And he was reining him. I was sitting there, and he was driving him. That horse would just kind of turn around. My grandpa would kind of lose his footing. He'd stop it, and then he'd get back in. He's like, "I'm not gonna do that." He calls it that machine. That's what he calls it. I'm not riding that machine. He's like, I'll just get out of here like this. And he did. He'd bring it up. We had a neighbor's corrals. He'd ride that horse up there, and I'm like, this guy's kind of, I don't know about this guy sometimes, but he taught me a lot about our Indian heritage, and I'm so glad I found this job, because I want to bring back to the community, not only that, but to the young ones that are growing up, to all these interns in the back row. Take notes and listen. When you walk out of here today, don't walk down like this. Walk with your head high. Be proud who you are, because it means a lot. Remember that. Alrighty.
Right here? Okay, well, my name's Lawrence Ian. PLHI's on-the-land coordinator. First of all, I want to apologize. It's like never a good sign when you have to apologize when you start. You can put me in the field and I can talk all day about plants and culture and history and stuff, but like in front of a classroom, probably be speaking fast or like.
You're wonderful.
Yeah.
You're a warrior.
So my job is on-the-land coordinator. We have one of the big projects we have is the winter ski program, and like the big goal of that is just to get people outdoors in the wintertime and kind of break down that cost barrier that like cross-country skiing or snowshoeing has. Because like what is it, like $500 to $1,000 just to get a cross-country ski set? And it's like that's kind of too expensive for people to figure out if they like it or not. So. And, you know, like most winters, people spend indoors doing, you know, watching TV, playing the video game, and yeah, eating. And so if we can get them outdoors by breaking down that cost barrier, you know, we can try to get more healthier, more healthier during wintertime, more active. So I've been doing, you know, so we take them out cross-country skiing, snowshoeing. We got a winter ed program now built into our ski program. And now we're just slowly building up our summer program where we take groups out hiking and stuff. We work with the treatment center a lot, and we actually just came from them this morning. We took them out gathering up in East Glacier. They gathered some licorice and saw some peppermint plants, little tiny guys right this time of year. And they, you know, I talked to Susie Matt, and she tells me that they really enjoy going out all the time. And when I took them out hiking a couple weeks ago, I remember this one lady, she was, you know, looking around. I was like, oh my God, wow, that's so amazing. Wow. You know, we can't experience this when we're drunk or high. You know, it's like, you know, you can really tell that she's getting reconnected to the land and trying to, you know, the nature is healing, trying to absorb in all that energy that's out there. You know, that's one thing I really want to do is just get people. And that's one thing I've been working towards before I even started working with PLHI is like trying to get people outdoors and reconnect, you know, get kind of an ownership of this land reestablished, because this is our home, but we don't really go out and enjoy it as much as we should be. And so before I started working with PLHI, I was really trying to push people to go outdoors and hike and enjoy the outdoors, because that's kind of like a doorway to our culture, because, you know, our culture is outdoors, outside. Like, you know, all our stories are happening outside, you know, out in nature. And so like if you're indoors, you're not really getting that connection to our culture. So I really do try to push people to go outside and get connected. Then we're also working on a tourism pilot with, and MSU is one of our big partners with that tourism pilot, and it's to get people, individuals trained, like get nature-based, native-based tourism, understand that, you know, like the potential for tourism in our area is such huge. And so if you get people trained up in that, you know, we might be able to explore that option more often with our people. What else am I missing? I know I'm probably missing something. Huh? Oh, that's all. Am I sticking out? Is that about it? Or yeah, I think that's about all the on the land stuff I have. there anybody else here?
Yeah. This is Anne Racine, who is our HR director.
A little bit of everything, but I'm gonna sing. No, I'm kidding. How does this?
So it kind of hangs in your pocket and that clips in somewhere nearby.
Okay. That's okay. I always have help.
You just pinch your shirt right here.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to our presentation on our Peconi Lodge Health Institute. My name is Anne Racine, and I am the HR Human Resource Manager, and I am also working with our Climate Smart curriculum development for the tribal colleges in Montana as it relates to the bison curriculum, the range. And that's my field that I really like too, because I worked here at BCC for a number of years as the Dean of Academics, the Dean of Student Services, and counselor, advocate, and I consider myself to be an advocate for all people. And I think that I could see a lot of the students that I worked with here before and creating curriculum. I was the person that created helped create the first nursing program. The nursing program that here is at BCC. I wrote the phase 1 and phase 2 of that. That's where they have the nursing program for Native nurses now. So I'm pretty proud of that. And also I'm proud of the fact that I also in my time as the Dean of Student Services, I also did the MSU, Montana University System transfer program, where all of our degrees here transferred to the 4-year. So they came into the college as a junior, and the Common Course numbering. I kind of was busy there for a little bit. And then I moved on into another position. And then when my husband passed away, I'm from 2 homes. I have 2 homes. I was married to my husband for 35 years. And I'm from Fort Belknap. I'm a Grovant. And I met him at home. So then I married him and came up here I'll be here for 40 years. I moved home for a year after he passed on. But this is my home too. That's where I'm from, and this is my home as well. I have 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and this is my home. This is my family here. Kim is my family. All of these guys are my family. I start working. Didn't have a job for about 3 years, 2-3 years, and I had a job here, and I had a good salary here. And when I moved from here, do you ever make like $12 an hour when you have a master's degree? You know, it was pretty tough to get a job. So I worked 2 jobs that were very humbling, and so there was a job that came open for the Peconi Lodge Health Institute. My daughter, she said, "Mom, look, there's a job for Peconi Lodge Health Institute. It's a general manager HR. Put in for it." And so I put in for it. And Kim and my one of my peers, Laura Kaplan, they're the ones that are really instrumental in creating PLHI. Kim and Laura, Michaela Young, she's our grant writer, Andrew, who's the regenerative grazing director. And I applied, and they interviewed me, and I was just coming out of the job that I was making. I worked for NACDC here in Browning as it was for loans and stuff.
So I worked there for about 2 months, I guess, during COVID. Had to go into the office. And so I was out in my car interviewing. And then when I went back in, when I came back out to my car and I was getting ready to go home for lunch and doing my interview, and they called and told me I got the job. So I went in and told them I resigned. This was my 2 weeks notice. And so I started with them and for about 4 years now. And it's been really a learning experience. I didn't know nothing about, all my folks had cows, but when I left home when I was 18, went to college and got married to Dan when I was 22, and we moved up here, but just went to school. I worked here at BCC and went to school full time and worked until I got my master's degree. And so we have a little place up in the mountains called Racine Basin. It's about as far as you could go. We don't have any cows, but we have horses. So I know the beauty of the land and what it entails in the mountains and all of that. And I come from a cultural background. My mom's was Teresa Cutthroat. My grandma was Matilda White Plume. My grandma on my dad's side is a Gardy Pease. She was a, what do you call them, a midwife and a traditional healer. And my grandpa, he was a rancher. But I came from a family of 11, and my husband came from a family of 11. So we had to be a really big family, so we know what the connection is for being a family and supporting each other. And I think that's what I learned, how to be an advocate, a supporter, nurturer, and I nurture all of these guys here when they're here. And so I really appreciative of Kim and giving me another opportunity to build my career back up and develop the things that I know I could do to help the people, the health, and the land. That's here in my heart. And helping those kids back there that are interns. I'll meet you guys next week, okay? Promise. And, and helping create jobs and create policies and stuff that are best interest of our people here so that they can grow and nurture and help the younger people and our people of other tribes too, to learn together. That's important. So, thank you. Thank you.
You're next. You put that wherever you feel comfortable. I'm just gonna hook this up.
Explanation of some of the work we do in case you're wondering what kind of work we do with all these phenomenal humans.
Hi, I'm Robin Johnson. I'm a 6th-generation rancher, born and raised here, and I just got the word 2 days ago that I got the job as your ag producer outreach person. So I'm so excited. I put in for this job about 2 months ago, and our policies on the Blackfoot tribe are a little bit slow moving, so I wasn't able to. I was just so excited every week. I was like, anybody hear anything? Call Ann? Did you? No. Finally, I got the call that I was the qualified applicant, and I'm so proud there to be part of this family. Kim has been part of my life. Her son is married to my daughter. They've been married for, 10, 12 years, but we've grown close. But I didn't get the job because of Kim. She would not help me whatsoever.
I'm not allowed.
She's not allowed.
I have a board I answer to, and I can't be a part of
But
the
it was,
board.
I feel that it was just meant to be. This position is just like, I worked here at the college, and then I worked at Browning Public Schools, and all along a full-time rancher. And it's just like, oh, this is what I need in my life right now. This is something I'm passionate about. I want to share what I've gained through the years of ranching and help other ranchers, the young generation that's coming up. I really have a heartfelt for that, because I'm raising I have 4 children, 2 daughters and 2 sons. My 2 sons had to take over our ranch 7 years ago, going on 6 years ago. My husband was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is a lung disease where it's terminal. There's no way around it besides a double lung transplant, and he was blessed with that. And through that journey, that Kim stopped her whole life to be with me during this process, and it was a miracle, because she just showed up in Seattle one day and said, I'm here for you, and she had all the knowledge about medical terms and things like that. And we went through a lot of things partially because of our native background. You don't get the same treatments sometimes. And so she was a great advocate for me, and I'll never forget that. And 6 years in December, he's still here with us, and that's a miracle in itself. So very grateful. So what I'm getting at with that is my sons and daughters had to take over the ranch. Like, boom, we're gone. We're out of the picture with very little funds, very little anything. They were very young and had to start running the ranch while we're over there. And so they did an amazing job. They're still doing that amazing job. And what worries me is the struggle that we're, as native ranchers here on the Blackfoot reservation, we have to answer to so many different entities to ranch. To not only do we have predators in our environment, the weather is huge here. It's not like anywhere else. And so my sons and daughters had to learn how to, with their spouses, they have wonderful spouses, and to take over this ranching, but they still don't know the different entities. So I want to make sure nobody has to go through that. I would like to reach out and help the next generation learn how to maneuver through these systems, how to, where to go to get help, where, not to feel shame to go ask for help, because the Bureau is for that. They're supposed to help us with these. That's what they're there for, and a lot of people don't know that. They don't know how to, where their lease is, if they are a landowner. They don't know where it's at, how to make sure they're getting paid, things like that. So, and the struggle is so huge for our younger generation to become ranchers, and we're making it very difficult for them to take over. And so we need to somehow open that path so that it's not such a struggle. We don't lose them. All these young people in the back here, they're our next generation. Do we want to set them up for success, or do we want to set them up for failure? Of course, you want them to be successful. So we got to give them the tools. We got to help them. It's a lot of work today to be a rancher. It's never ending. You're always there, pushing cows or pushing dirt, whatever it may be, pushing a broom. You got all cooks and everyone in the cooks have to be in a corral at times. I have to laugh. One time Kim was up helping us, and I said, there's some muck boots. It was really muddy, like this much mud in the corral, and we all had to be out there helping work the cows. And I looked back once, Kim's down into her knees in the corral trying to help us sort cows and things, but she got stuck in the mud and tipped over. She's full of mud, but like I said, all cooks and everybody have to be in a corral at sometimes, and that's family. That's just, you can depend on family to do that. So that's my whole goal, is through this position, I believe, is just amazing, and that we've met together is to help our young ranchers be successful and want to continue it. 4 generations, that's great. 5 generations, even better. 6th generation is where I'm at with our family ranch. And, you know, I'm worried about the 7th. We have a beautiful group of grandbabies, and they're all really interested in it. But there's one thing that I always push is college. You have to get your education today to become a rancher. Back in the day, my dad was like, I never once heard anybody say, you need to go get your education to continue this ranch. It wasn't until life was over before he said, you better go get your education. You know, this day and age has changed. After I went through all my life thinking, I'm just going to be a rancher. I'm just going to push cows. But then things started to revolve, and he started to see that education was important. So now I went to college, got my degree, got my master's degree, and I begged my boys, I said, please just go to college, and as long as you can, get your degree. And if you can't make college, at least you tried. Well, things happened on the ranch. My husband got sick and they had to quit college, but they did go to college. They gave me that. They did get to college, and one came really close to having his degree, and he had to come home and like take over. But you know, they still talk about, maybe I should go back now that things are starting to level out, and I'd really love to see that. But yeah, that's my story. I hope I can do what I want to do. I know I can. I'm a very determined person. But see, this mountain in this background is Rising Wolf. And the one beyond that is Sinapa. That's my roots. We came from Chief Lone Walker of the Blackfoot tribe. Daughter was Sinapaki, who married Rising Wolf. Rising Wolf was the first white man to live amongst the Indians. He came down from Canada, and Chief Lone Walker gave his daughter to him at that time. And lo and behold, I'm here. My Indian name is Sinapaki. My youngest son is received the name Rising Wolf, and my youngest grandson, received Lone Walker. And so we kept the names in our family, and we called the ranch Rising Wolf Johnson Ranch, and something to be really proud of, and we are. And I'm so excited to do this. So if anybody needs anything, let me know, and I'd be happy to help you.
All right, guys, I'll be your last introduction. Thank you. Okay. Hi, my name's Alva Dorsey. I've been working with PLHI now for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. It's been great. I've worked with nonprofit previously, and one thing I think that people don't really understand is the nonprofit work on a reservation is amazing. It's difficult. It's hard to get the 501c3 that's required. It's difficult finding, those funding sources and stuff. And so Kim coming out and saying like their journey with grant writing and contracts that they've been able to secure, not just with the government, but also like other entities, is huge. It's a huge thing for our people. It's a huge thing for the reservation. And so the work that they're doing is no small thing. You're working with the federal government, with the state government, with the county government, with the tribal government, and navigating those waters isn't always easy, right? My role is really, really small. These guys are the heavy lifters. I'm not doing like anything basically in the organization. I help with digital support, the website development, that kind of stuff. But I'm super proud to be part of it, to be part of this organization that's here for the people, for the next generation, for ranchers being sustainably able to maintain and address like grazing, that kind of stuff, to be able to address drug abuse. So, and labor force, right? The PLHI umbrella is huge. It's a huge umbrella, and it covers so many aspects of our community's health that it's not just like the physical health, right? With Lauren's program, we're looking at economic health. We're looking at being able to help people through all kinds of struggles and challenges that, like Kim was saying, that we shouldn't have to face because generations have already faced them. And so with this nonprofit, it's really great to just be part of that family that's looking at how can we make this area as holistic as possible. And so I'll give it to Kim because I know we've talked over an hour now, it's just introductions, and let you guys ask questions about the organization. So.
You know, I'm trained in field work. I'm trained as a grandma of 13. I'm trained as a mom, and I never envisioned that I would be sitting behind a computer 12, 14, 16 hours a day when we created Piikani Lodge, because I wanted to be out in the field with, you know, bring the Western science part of things that I learned along with the things that I've learned from our elders. And I was really blessed under the tribe to work under Raki, Gerald Wagner. And for a summer, I was at NIH when Robin mentioned that I just dropped everything because there was a need, right, in our family. I needed to be there. So I gave up my job at NIH, but I'd learned many things in genome and at the clinical research hospital and brought those tools home too. And then I got a quick job at the tribe with the environmental office, and I got to have these interns. And I took these interns around, taught them about climate change, taught them all this stuff in the classroom, all these PowerPoints, which is why we haven't actually gotten to it yet. But when I took them up to Chief Mountain, and not one of them, and they were cream of the crop, interns, you know, council kids, and like they had never been there. They'd never been to our prayer meadow here at home, our own holy place. They'd never been to they never knew the stories. We transferred, you know, digging Omakos, and they got to learn about this big medicine and this big smudge, and it was all just it was beautiful because we all kind of cried together and sang together and ate together. And but what it did was Creator was saying, this is really important. This is really important. Whatever you're going to do, it needs to include people like these beautiful interns that we have sitting in the back here. So every job that we write, and under these federal, we have to do this dichotomy thing. Us, Nitsita Peaks, Piikani Lodge. But I didn't know anything, and I still don't know anything. I know just a tiny bit of little things, but we tacked this on to walk in the Western world, Health Institute. So then it makes it really hard for people to say, was that PLHI, PHLI? So now we're going to take this off with all of our, I think even with the Secretary of the State paperwork, everything, change our name just to Piikani Lodge. We're going to reclaim what we really were trying to say from the beginning. Yes, it's all about health, and yes, this fits and sounds like a good word, but I didn't know what I was doing. Anyway, so it's going to be Piikani Lodge. So if you guys want to just get rid of all the acronym and from now on know us as Piikani Lodge, that's who we are. And so I think it's really important to also say that as we create our crew here at home, we've had some really major outstanding partners. You know, we have people that link arms with us and have given their lives to make Piikani Lodge what it is today, and that is Michaela Young, our development director, Laura Kaplan's our conservation director, and Andrew Berger, who is handling the big umbrella of all of our ag work. So without them, Piikani Lodge would never have grown to the size and capacity. I ended up with COVID and 4 years on oxygen, and all these wonderful people were still carrying the load and doing the heavy lifting, and I'm in the background. My nephew would come to my window and say, "Oh my God, Auntie, you're just like Oz, like that guy behind the curtain." He's always sitting there doing. So we made it happen, but to tell the story of the heart of Pekani Lodge, we just got started. We just wrote this first federal grant, traditional diet. We wanted to learn, or we wanted to prove, we just wanted to feed people really good food. And so we found a way to get it funded under this federal grant. And we got this job, but right then COVID hit. And so we just, as a team, we sat down and we said, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to feed the community so that we could keep our elders out in their locations instead of having to come in to town and get groceries because it was so unknown. We didn't want our people dying, right? So we carried the burden of our regular work, and then we just started looking for 2,000 here, 5,000 there, 7,000 there, and we fed out 40. I'm just really proud of this, so I want to share this because I don't think it's on a slide. We fed out 48,000 hot meals and 13,800 food boxes because we are community, because we do love, and we love so deeply that we didn't want our elders to have to come to town and take a chance of getting sick by having to just simply buy groceries. So we delivered 197 meals a day. Heartbeat was taking care of their people. We were hitting Blackfoot and East Glacier and Seville and just everyone else that wasn't Heartbeat or the Southside Birch Creek, Badger Creek, and to Medicine even. So that's just a little cool story because all of the funding that we pulled together for that food was government funding. So we were real happy about that. And then the hot meals we were able to get from our senior citizens. So anyway, we've got just a few short minutes. We'll run through these slides, these beautiful slides that Andrew put together for us. So this is just kind of an overall guide of how we feel that, we know that everything is connected, from our land, our biosystems, to our people, to the health of our people, and to creating jobs that are of value and career builders for our people. We have these beautiful partnerships with people that work away from here. We also have beautiful partnerships with universities like these folks back here, University of Idaho, and Mr. Davis, who really should be up here talking because he talks so nicely. And MSU right here, MJ, like our person from home at MSU who's working with Buffalo Nations, which was something that we funded from its initial beginning. It's Blackfeet work, Blackfeet knowledge, Blackfeet co-knowledge that we've shared with a few folks, and MJ is one of the leads on that. And we're really proud of that program, Buffalo Nations. And so we just work within this model that pulls in science, pulls in experience, pulls in wisdom. We try to get it funded. We work really hard amongst, the admin team trying to continue to pull money in under each one of these visions to bring supplies or materials or new ideas like regenerative grazing out to our producers who then, can maybe be able to shorten up their needs, 9 months of feeding out and not having the money to do that and having to constantly take out loans with institutions that are not friendly to us as a people who we had to go to the national level to I'm going to file a complaint person, but I got a hold of the director of FSA and USDA and just really spoke the challenges that our ranchers are going through, having these people look at their bank accounts and saying, you're buying your daughter too many shoes. Well, she just grew 4 sizes. Of course she's going to need 4 pairs of shoes. And yeah, anyway, for us to have to do that paternalistic thing, like, we're done with that. That's so over. Anyway, so this is our One Health model. All these slides are going to kind of be a surprise because our beautiful, wonderful Andrew put them together. Just click the button. So this is one of our first, that's the one camp I was telling you about, our Culture and Hope camp that was out at Utagui-Bixiaki, which I think we have a Blackfeet Indian Land Trust board member here in the background that by Eloise Cabell's beautiful vision out west of town. So that was that first camp. So we have some folks in there that are not with us any longer and some folks, many folks that are. So that was our beautiful first Culture and Hope camp. This is our Stu Ipapoki Simon. That's our the first time we went out. So the vision was to create this 4 directions, 4 seasons on the land and started working with some beautiful people down in Bozeman, and we were able to buy all these skis at cost, or at their wholesale cost, and create this on-the-land program. This was our first time out. We were up at Summit, and it was when COVID first started. Note the masks, yeah. Yeah, no, it was really cold though that day too. That was just before I went on oxygen. So these are some of our happy winter people out learning how to do something. Out of 387 participants that year, only 3 had ever been on skis. So it looks like fun and games, but it's impactful, and we feed, and I was making stew late at night and fry bread early in the morning and feeding out, and just look at those smiles. It's all worth it, right? Here's our, was this a wilderness medicine?
Yeah, that's the Buffalo Nation students from last year's pilot camp.
Yep. And then this one?
I think that's, they're working with UTMA.
Was that the wilderness medicine first aid course? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we try to get everyone some exposure, and these are our beautiful, your honor students, right, Stephen? On the left side, yeah, some of them, and Buffalo Nations. Yeah, I'm not going to read that. Just kidding. But we can take a minute. It's just, so within that first funding, that first contract that we got, my beautiful cousin, Lauren Bird-Rattler, he wanted to make it all about policy. We submitted it, we didn't get funded. He's like, you need to call him and find out why we didn't get funded. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna go call these people and ask why we didn't get the money. He's like, Kim, you need to call, he was my boss. You need to call them. So I called him, and she's like, there's no research in here. So overnight, they held off the granting because they'd never seen an application from a Native entity. So they gave us overnight to create a research project. So I'm just like, I threw together this traditional diet. We're gonna check the biomarkers. We're gonna check A1C. We're gonna eat traditional for 100 days. We're gonna check biomarkers like A1C, your blood sugar. We're gonna check stress biomarkers. For cortisol, we're gonna check immune response, IgG, IgA, IgM, and C-reactive protein. And then we're going to check the ratio between, because if you're eating beef, it's really high in omega-6, which is not good for you. But if you're eating ini, it's really high in omega-3, which is good for you. So I created this whole research thing with some help of some fantastic people on the computer as we're talking and looking up lab equipment. And so anyway, the next day we got the funding, and that was our first contract that we ever got from the government. And this is where unfortunately, because of COVID, our institutional review board here at BCC went into moratorium, and we finally just got it through and got it approved. And so we're just getting started now. So we're real happy about this project. Kristen Falcon, who's not here today, she works on this one. She's our lead on putting together this project. And so we'll have 10 people for 100 days. We'll supply all the foods, and they'll do a baseline blood draw at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, to see if there's any change. We did it for 6 weeks as a pilot, secret pilot off the Blackfeet Nation, so we didn't need the institutional review board. Oops, sorry. And the first 2 weeks were really hard. Oh my gosh, I like bread, and I like rice, and I like gravy, and oh my gosh, it was so hard. But after 2 weeks, and we had this one in there that, when you're hard bench science for so long, you're just like real concrete, and then you got to do this, the bundle and the ceremonies and the songs and the vows and the prayers and then you got all this bench science in your head. And this one person who did it, who was amongst our core, she's like, I'm just really excited about how spiritual, what the spiritual changes are going to be within me. And I was just like, okay. And we got to the end of the 6 weeks, every single person, I just felt so connected to my people, to my ancestors. It was just such a clean, wonderful feeling that I felt, completely connected to generations past and who I am as a spiritual being along with the physical being. And it was really beautiful. So we've already done the pilot, and the real one is about to start. And And hopefully no federal funders are going to be listening to this little piece right now. But the main reason that we're doing it, in my heart, the main reason I wrote it was that so that we already know our diet was best for us. We ate it for 15, 18,000 years. We didn't have cancers, we didn't have diabetes, we didn't have depression, we didn't have all this stuff. So we already know that it is, but if we have that in this clean data showing that these changes occur, you know, serum and salivary changes occur within our bodies, then we could use that data at NIH to get a really big grant that will employ more people. And then we get to buy all this food for so many more families. And whether it's research or not, people are getting to eat every day these clean foods and making their own choices whether to try to go back to that instead of hot Cheetos and Takis and pop. And anyway, so that's the diet. No, you're good. So that's Kristen right there talking about the diet. Picking berries. So we went out and, you know, did all our berry picking for the past 5 years, and the freezer is just packed full with ini. We harvested ini, we harvested elk, you know, we did all of these things we're supposed to do, and we just can't wait to get these freezers emptied out. One big long chest freezer, just tongue. And so, so when Okan comes around, people say, "Misam Sepiaki, can I just get one of those tongues?" Like, oh yes. So we're handing out tongues for ceremony too, but we also have, you know, lots of tongue and heart and liver and everything for our diet. So this was one of our projects, the Rural Opioid Technical Assistance. We created a tribal and native relevant. Anne was a big part of this project, where we created these toolkits that had pictures of our uncles and our aunties and our mountains and our rivers. And then we had this group that went to all the high schools and middle schools serving Native students within the state, which is every high school and middle school. But we started out with priority schools like Harlem and, you know, the ones that were close to tribal nations. And when our team would walk in, our team had a mother who OD'd, or a sister that was born addicted to opioids, or a cousin who, you know, they just Narcaned 4 times the day before. Or so it was real life stories. They went into the classroom, they spoke these stories, they shared with and the kids just couldn't get over the coverings of our toolkits because it was Native people on it. And anyway, it was a full 2-year project, and we got to each school twice, and I think it was really good. We didn't do that pre-survey, post-survey to prove it. We just went out with love. So that's that one. Oh, and here's our dream is coming into, so when we started, we were at the bottom of the Never Goes Crooked building. We had that whole ground floor. COVID hit, and we walked out of that building so that the one person in there who had 3 children could keep her office, because we didn't want to be coming in and out and maybe hurting her or causing her to get COVID from us. And so that was a really hard time for us the last 4 or 5 years. We've been working out of our cars, we've been working out of the parking lots, we've been working out of our homes. And so we finally are able to and are in the process of purchasing some land west of town towards the mountains. And we're going to have a home. So there's going to be all these things that are going to happen out there. It's going to be a training center. We're going to have a big commercial kitchen. By Creator's grace, he's given us the money to purchase the land. And then we have other people who are linking arms with us to build this training center. So we're really excited about this. It's going to have, my big thing has always been the haves and have-nots. Even within our community, there's people who are able to have 4-H animals, who are able to do these things that other kids aren't, who've been fractionated off their land. So we're going to provide, it's 630 acres of land that kids can have a 4-H animal, whether they live in town in a duplex with 7 other kids or not. They're going to be able to have access to a horse for equine therapy. My uncle, who was the one who told me I had to go to college along with Sin, "My girl, you need to go to college." And it was like, "My girl, you need to fly to the moon." First person ever in our family to ever have a college degree, even at 50. So we're going to provide a place with computers and equine therapy, because that's what he wants. And I think, we're people of the horse, and we need to provide this opportunity for kids that maybe live in town or in areas that can't have horses. And so that's we're going to have geothermals, we're going to have huge gardens, we're going to have, just open house all the time. Anybody can come at any time, day or night, and, that just needs to be around. We'll have a few buffalo, and we'll have a huge garden and just a big workforce, the correct words are workforce training and development center, so that people can come for free, just like our skiing. Anything that we do is for free. It's up to us to find that money to provide these programs. It's not up to our people to have to pay for these things. So this is prayerfully by next year we can have, or by the spring, have some folks out there smoking pipe and blessing the ground and moving on forward. So this is all creators' work and all the hard work of the people in this room and others. This one, Latrice, Tatsy, and was it the interns last year, the year before maybe, doing their soil sampling. And so working with the ranches to figure out ways, especially in our drought conditions, to maintain and protect the soil and strengthen the ability to provide for production animals. Some transects. There's Latrice. She's gone on to, and that's the other thing, is we're kind of a springboard. People get to come to us out of school and springboard into these like lifetime positions. Like she's now the NRCS director for the whole Blackfeet Nation. So we're very, very proud of her. Well, all of everyone here. This was out at INI days, and everyone learning a little more about rangeland production and the plans for creating a processing facility here right at home. We're working with BCC. They're creating the curriculum. We're trying to find money to provide that processing plant. A lot about rangeland health and grazing, and how we can help, how we can assist. It's a beautiful slide. Thank you, Andrew. More. I see we're at time, so I'm just trying to wrap it up. The things that we do, we bring our voice into it. We bring, everything that we can into it. We've borrowed those main tenets of, from our ancestors about, respect and learning and appreciation and growth and how to be good. Nitsit the peaks, exicate the peaks, just trying to help and produce within our community whatever they want us to help with. So trying our hard. There's our, he got it. Yay, reading my mind. So these are our core values. More regen grazing, the difference between when he's rotated his cattle here and there, the difference between the grass, you can see it just in that small bit of production. Same there. We've had some really good jobs with, or not jobs, but outreach to the high schools, putting up all these snow fences all around. Like, who knew the roads department had it all together? There's Andrew here, Latrice and our team, but putting up snow fences all around and helping with moisture retention. So it's been a really good thing. We've made them with willows and with other composite materials, and just some of our beautiful learning people. I've talked enough. Thank you guys for sitting through this. We really appreciate your time and just honored to be a part of our community.